Just watched your video about the family hit hard. Thank you. Somebody just hit me with that on Instagram. In case y'all wondering where that comment came from. Damn, I'm stuffed. Just got done busting me a mean grub. What up? Youngstown, what up? Eid Mubarak. We just completed that with the cherry on top. What's going on, people? You gotta watch the Kanye interview. Oh my goodness, everybody talking about the Kanye interview. Y'all talking about when he had on the black Ku Klux Klan outfit? My grandmother had one of them joints in the 80s and shit. My grandmother was a radical, man. She had one of them joints in the 1980s. What up? We're just watching your video from earlier. Is it still money on the floor? Yeah, it's money on the floor, but you gotta come with some original shit, man. Every now and then. Did you see the tour of Big U video the LA Chargers put out? Nah. Y'all, oh my goodness, y'all going real fast. I'm following South Carolina, man, and Coach Don Staley. That's who I'm on and shit. No, this was made by a gentleman named Bobby Joseph from Oakland, California. He was a designer for Platinum Fubu. Rest in peace, young Scooter. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Amongst other things, Sean Kingston and his mother going to the jailhouse to spend some time for fraud. Everybody going to jail, man. People don't value they freedom. Miguel Ortiz, what's good, G? I appreciate you reaching out to me. They say Scooter ran for nothing. Actually, he didn't run for nothing. We kind of like programmed to take off and shit when the police show up. I know growing up we was just wired that way. If somebody took off running, we normally all take off running and shit. Find out why we was running later on and shit. Because it was like that. Like normally whenever the police showed up, they was coming to take somebody with them. It kind of depends on a person's lifestyle and shit. The fact that Scooter took off running, he probably still living a certain way and shit, but we just wired like that, man. When the police show up, you expect them to come take somebody away. He said the story sounds crazy though. And between your legs, on both sides of your genitals, if you reach down on the sides of your legs, you feel them arteries and then you feel them tendons and ligaments. This shit from like your knee to your hip on the inside of your legs is some very, very, very important arteries and shit like that. And what happened to him, according to how you feel about the story, was a freak accident. I don't think that his injury caused him for like an incision for blood to be spraying out of him. I think his injury happened like internally and shit. Maybe he was like bleeding internally and shit, if that makes sense. The same way that I think Sean Taylor was killed from the Washington Redskins. He got shot up in his legs somewhere. Black Just got shot up in his legs. There's people who have died from being shot up in their legs. They saying Scooter wasn't shot, but he suffered some trauma to these arteries. I think it's called a femoral artery or some shit like that. He said Sean Taylor got hit in that artery too. I was thinking that as soon as I heard it, like, because I seen the press conference and the police officer was describing, he said he jumped over the fence. And I'm like, man, I done jumped over some fences before running from the police. And I'm thinking, damn, maybe the fence snagged him, you know what I mean? Cut through his pants and hit right on the inside of your thighs. There's some real delicate arteries and shit in there. And if them shits, if you get an incision, blood gonna start squirting up out of you and shit. He said, yeah, the Sean Taylor, that artery is deaf. I think it's called the femoral artery, and it's like connected to your heart. So every time your heart beat, it's pumping blood straight out your body. Yeah, the femoral artery. Yeah, exactly. So it's an unfortunate situation that happened on his birthday. I think young Scooter probably was living like his raps because he was one of of the new generation of like Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug and all of them. Like he came out around the time of them. Pee Wee Longway. He was talking that dope boy shit real heavy, and he was popping. And then he just like kind of like vanished from the music scene. Like he wasn't as high profile as he once was and shit. He's a cool nigga though. I met him in the mall. I met him in Lenox Mall. He was a cool dude. I didn't know he was only 39. He said that's the main blood supply vein. Every time you move, it sends blood back to the heart. He said, why was he running from the police at 39 on his birthday? Don't want to go to jail on your birthday. When the police show up, they normally come to get somebody, man. He probably, man, I ain't going to fucking jail today. Could have been dope in that house. Could have been guns in that house. Ain't no telling what was going on in that house. Considering the shit that he rap about, it probably was hammers or drugs or some shit. Whatever the case, he felt it was worth running. So it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate. He said facts. He was talking about selling drugs. Black Migo gang. I jumped over one of those fences with the hook and getting chased one day. Black Migo gang. He was one of the first rappers that was talking about the Migos and going to Mexico and all this crazy shit. So maybe he was still living like that. And when they pulled up, he thought it was his day. He thought it was his day. He broke out. The femoral artery causes a lot of deaths. I've seen that as a nurse. Damn. Very unfortunate, man. He was only 39 years old, and just like that, story is over with. Rest in peace to him. I'm from ATL. Scooter was still in the streets. Scooter was a real street nigga. He's from Kirkwood, Little Mexico. Scooter had the grass heavy, that's a fact. They said shots was fired. I heard it was no shots fired. I heard it wasn't a female there. I heard a female sent the police there, maybe upset about something. A female that wasn't even in that house called the police, knowing that them niggas was dirty, and said, yo, it's a kidnapping, somebody being held against their will, hoping that when the police ran down on them niggas, they would arrest somebody. And if that's the case, that's very, very rotten, but knowing females, it could be some truth to it. That's one of the things that females do. If they can't slander your name, they want you to go to jail and shit. And that's something that they do. A female can't hurt you like punching you in your face or hitting you back or nothing like that. So they be wanting to see you go to fuck to jail and shit. That's just the truth. How Future right hand is still trapping, he couldn't invest in another business. Everybody don't be having that aptitude, man. Hustling and get money is a gift, man. Everybody not blessed with that gift. They not. Everybody don't. It's a gift. You need charisma. You need a mouthpiece. You need to be able to think. You need to be able to understand behaviors of the customer and shit like that. It's a gift that everybody not blessed with. Niggas need to stop speaking that lifestyle if that's not who you are and shit. Ain't nothing wrong with being a regular guy. Everybody don't have to be a hustler and shit. Like once the internet, social media, music started to speak hustler culture, hustler lingo, hustler lifestyle, everybody tried to or wants to project that image like that's who they is and shit, but nah, everybody not built like that. Shouldn't he have had millions and made some investments? He was around heavy hitters like Future and Gucci Mane. Scooter's real popularity, that was like 10 years ago. I had a store. I used to sell Scooter's music on my store. That was about 10 years ago. he wasn't still like very, very high profile in music. Like other people came after him and ended up being the niggas, like the Migos and shit like that. A real hustler can pivot in other avenues. Yeah, but everybody not a real hustler. That's just it. Some people seem to associate being a drug dealer with a hustler, and it's not the same. If you a hustler, you can sell anything. On the highest level, drug dealers they seem to they have a ceiling. They have a ceiling, and that's why they kind of like go from commodity to commodity. Weed, fentanyl, whatever drugs that they feel that they could sell and shit. But that's not a hustler for real. Scooter stopped rapping by choice. He was getting money like a rapper. I understand. I understand. Sometimes niggas get comfortable doing what they do and move no further. The streets have a ceiling, yo, and it puts you into a comfort zone where you don't learn anything else and you don't be trying to do anything else. That's it. That's why I use the word ceiling, because there's not a lot of room for growth. We've seen it over and over and over. And after niggas go to jail, everybody say what they should have done or could have done. But niggas, a lot of niggas didn't have the aptitude to begin with. Gully, you think Angel Reese is bad? She says she wants a man now. I like Angel Reese. Complacency. All right. Like Jay-Z said, I'm a hustler. I can sell water to a well. Exactly. Anyway, make sure that y'all all subscribe. We've been getting more news about the situation with the Rolling 60s. Big U has been indicted again. Since me and Zip with the Drip last conversation, Big U has been another 40-something charges. He got a superseding indictment. He continued to be charged. And one of the things that he was charged with was one of the videos that me and Zip was speaking about. When he was on that street corner, he was telling them people who were shooting that movie to check in. He got charged for that shit. They used that shit. They charged him for that shit. He made a video saying, if you don't check in, we're going to check your equipment in. They used that video, that exact video me and Zip was talking about, and charged his ass. Yeah, so his goose is probably cooked. They making sure one of them charges stick. They making sure a lot of that shit stick, but again, he put the shit on the internet. Nobody told him to be extorting motherfuckers and making videos and shit. If you're doing wrong, you shouldn't be capturing it on camera and shit. For real. Big U should have stayed in the shadows. He's a goofy. Big U is a white man deep inside. Why you think all of these celebs getting it? I don't know, man. I don't know, man. My philosophy is it's nice to be important, but more important to be nice. You got to pay attention to the way that you live in. Like, you could put an energy out into the world that will return and visit you. You know what I'm saying? So when something happens, like the situation with young Scooter, it ain't no telling what he did in his past and shit. The world is round for a reason. I say this all the time. It's best that you try to be a good, righteous person, man. Try to treat people right. Try to deal with people fairly and shit like that. And for the most part, try to keep positive energy around you and your family. Straight up. Did y'all see Dame Dash got hit with a lawsuit? And he lost. He owed somebody $4 million about getting on one of these podcasts. It's Chatty Patting, his word. Let's use his word, Chatty Patty. Used his word and got online talking about somebody's business, somebody that was doing a film with, and they sued his ass. It's another $4 that he owe. Damn, got buzzer luck, man. Big U extorted the Los Angeles Chargers to draft his son. Lucer's talking too much. Motherfuckers gotta know when to be quiet. Niggas was in love with internet celebrity. Oh, another thing that happened. since I last spoke to y'all, Adam 22 was picked up, and they wanted to know about the video that when Loose Cannon first came to our, when we first became familiar with Loose Cannon, it was when he was on Adam 22's platform. I think he had a bulletproof vest on. He was on there talking about the day that Nipsey got killed. Before Nipsey was killed, Big U called him and said, yo, you heard that Nipsey was killed? And he said he got off the phone and he called Nipsey, and Nipsey answered the phone. So Big U already had knowledge that he was going to be killed before he was actually killed. He put that up. That was on Adam 22's channel. I never knew that they took that interview down, but of course, the rest of the internet grabbed that clip and put that clip everywhere, so he couldn't remove it. But when they ran up on him, they wanted to know about that interview. They wanted to know about that. That's another one of the big cases that's hanging over his head and shit. It is. All of this was of his own doing. He said he was looking like 03 50 Cent with a bulletproof vest. How can you extort a white-owned NFL team? I don't believe that. Snitching on yourself is a new dialogue. Check this out. These niggas been going to platforms who are funded by the government. Adam 22, Vlad, that money that they be giving you niggas, this government money. It makes total sense. That's government money. That's government money. That is government money. That 5,000, 4,000 for whatever they be giving to y'all, they got a room full of that money to get to you niggas. We gonna get these motherfuckers this money, and they gonna get on your platform and get to run in their mouth. I believe that these are government-funded media platforms. It makes total sense. It makes total sense. That's what. Yeah, they got a budget. So, whatever happens to these niggas, that's the fuck they get. You know why? Because a lot of these people that be on these platforms, they're musicians. And I seen Doggy Diamond made a tweet the other day, and he was like, damn, a lot of these so-called big hip-hop platforms don't even discuss hip-hop. They don't even talk about music. It's always something criminal or some street shit. Imagine tuning in to ESPN and they not talking about sports. That's what's going on here. So shout out to the hip-hop platforms that's still around. It's just a few of us. It's just a few of us. Everybody else, for money, they've crossed over and decided to do different types of content. Now, let's talk about my earlier video. That video was abbreviated. I had a lot more. I had a lot more I wanted to put into that video, but I kept getting interrupted. And I was getting frustrated getting interrupted, so I just abbreviated it, and I felt like I can get on a later date and fill in the blanks, because it was a timeline associated with that video, especially in regards to me and my upbringing and my dealings at home and shit like that. It was a timeline when I was telling y'all about, you know, I shot at my mom's my mom's husband. I kept getting interrupted, but I really, really, really wanted to get that off. I really needed to get it off all at once. You know what I'm saying? It was well said. I hope that, he said, that runs in my family. All of the fellas are drawn more to their father. My father was greatness, man. I wouldn't have been into the things that I ended up favoring in life if it wasn't for my father and shit. Like, I grew up holding Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in a very, very high regard. I did. Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad. These was all watching movies like Buck and the Preacher. These is all things that I'm too young to know about Buck and the Preacher. If anybody who know that movie, I watched that movie with my pops and shit. That was his shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I enjoyed that shit, but I never would have been exposed to none of that. Calvin Lockhart, who played the original Biggie Smalls, just everything. I wouldn't have got none of that if I wasn't in close proximity of my father. Like, my father made me thorough. My father made me who I am. Just everything from my nose to my toes. And I had to be close to him because he shot me out of his nuts before I even existed in my mother. Women, they're a vessel, they give birth. But a man produces life, because if he shoots sperm, right, and you look at the sperm under a microscope, it's swimming. It know where it got to go. This is a vessel that's already thinking. He's swimming. It's competition. There's other sperm cells there. They trying to get to this egg and shit. Like, that greatness, that shit come from your fucking father and shit. So I seen the video of the little boy. He was dancing, and I'm like, man, they got this nigga sashaying and acting like a blade already and shit. And I was just saying to myself, I read the comments, and the comments was saying, where's his father at? What's wrong with him learning how to pitch and catch a baseball, or code computers, or dribble a basketball, like anything, martial arts, anything that's masculine driven? Like, what's wrong with teaching him that? Why do y'all got him finger popping and, you know, shaking his ass and his hips and shit like that? His father couldn't been present. You know what I'm saying? His father couldn't been present. No heterosexual man ain't gonna co-sign that type of shit. And it's very, very well known that black women, I won't say all, but a lot of black women, they cool with blades. They favor that. They hang with blades. They have blades around them and shit. If a boy starts turning feminine and shit like that, some of them don't be having no problem with that shit. They don't be seeing that shit as a crime or what they doing is wrong. You fucking this boy head up like you fucking him up. You know what I mean? They don't be they be with it. They be with it. And if a man ain't around to say, oh, bitch, you bugging the fuck out. Like, what the fuck are you doing and shit? That could take this boy all the way to the blade, all the way to blade him. You know what I'm saying? And you know something that's puzzling to me is how women will assimilate with a blade and hang with him, and, you know, you don't even know that this motherfucker don't like you for real. This blade wants to be you. He wants to be you. He wants your hips. You know what I'm saying? He wants your natural curves. He envies you, and you don't even fucking know it. And y'all be hanging around these motherfuckers and shit, and you don't even fucking know it. When other men come around, this blade is he feel he's in a competition with you to pull this motherfucking nigga and shit. And y'all be having these twisted motherfuckers around, hanging with him and shit like they cool and shit like that. And getting back to what I was saying and shit, if a man ain't present, it's gonna get dark. It's gonna get dark for real, straight like that, straight like that. He said, yeah, they befriending the ops. Somebody be having to say it, and I'm the type of person, I'm going to just say exactly what's on my mind. I had already been triggered to talk about that shit. I just didn't want to say a whole lot about what happened in my life because I love my mother and shit. She's a Muslim woman. We got through that, but if somebody asks me, like I told her, I said, yo, whenever I've written a book already, but I'm gonna write one that's an autobiography. And I told her, I said, when I write my book, I'm not sparing nobody. I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna say, that's how my writing style is triggered. Whatever in my spirit is just, that's how I come out. If you try to fabricate a story, it's like trying to make up a lie. That's hard. But telling the truth is easy and shit. And it's in me and shit. So it needs to be said. There's disruptions that happen between fathers and their children and shit. And a lot of times they only get one side of the story. A kid only get one side of the story and shit. And they be getting programmed and shit off of this one-sided story and shit. And I seen a video on one of these podcasters to say, when you get of age, you should go listen to your father's side of the story. You might view everything that happened differently. And I kept thinking about that video over and over and over and shit, because I ain't got a lot of rap. You know what I mean? I lead by example. I was raised amongst Islam. black excellence. Nobody that I dated had my upbringing. Nobody that I ever dated had my upbringing. Nobody that I ever dated had my grade point average. Nobody that I ever dated had my lineage and none of that shit, right? So I'm not gonna go out of my way to try to prove anything to nobody. I ain't gonna really do a whole lot of communicating. I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna be done with you and shit. And in the process, you can get cut off, and the child that we have can get cut off too, because I'm not gonna, it ain't gonna stress me. I ain't gonna blow my cool. I ain't gonna do nothing that's uncivilized. I'm just gonna be done with you. It's like refusing to interact with the devil and shit, for real. And that's what it is. And I'm not doing no court like people be saying, you know, you can fight for rights and go to court and do all this crazy shit. I ain't doing none of that. I ain't doing none of that. And the way that I'm wired is because I grew up with my father and shit. I'm him. And he wasn't doing none of that and shit. So, straight up. So women want Blaze for friends for that reason. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. I hope I didn't go off subject too far and shit, but I definitely was disrupted when I put out that video this morning and shit. I wasn't done. There was more to go with that. For real. So the 50 Cent way kids get cut off as well? Absolutely. Absolutely. Shame on you. Shame on you. I understood 50 Cent's situation, Marquise. I had a very, very similar situation and shit. The king don't do no ass whooping. It's man, woman, and child. I mean, don't do no ass kissing. It's man, woman, and child. I'm gonna say that again. Man, woman, child. That's how it go and shit. The black man is the foundation of the black family, like the sun is the foundation of the solar system. Straight up. So, some people, you just gotta back up off of them and shit. That's how it is. They never address who's making it a fight in the first place. I don't think, I know every race has its own pros, cons, things that they deal with, but a black man shouldn't have to fight for all of this shit. Like, we spend a lot of time in our lives fighting for decency, respect, the way we are situated in the pecking order in the corporate world. It's constantly some type of conflict or a fight, and a man shouldn't have to come back home and be fighting with his family and going to court and shit like that. Me, myself, I ain't doing that shit. I seen some people saying in the comments, I'll fight for this and I'll fight for that. Go ahead, my nigga. I spent enough time in the courtroom. If that's what you into, go ahead and do that. Everybody else, like I said, I lead by example and shit. At some point, the cream continues to rise to the top. I'm the cream and shit. You see where I'm at in life and shit. I hope my children try to catch up to that. And at that point, man, they probably can get, you know, some understanding from me. Women want Blaze for friends because of their desire to be over a man. Blaze make that possible. Remember, God's curse to Eve is her desire to be over a man in childbirth. Where can I get the book? You can get it from therealdribble.com. Here it go right here. Shout out to Josiah Don Martin from Independent Dope. He bought one earlier today. Was it a breaking point? I'm not really confrontational to begin with. My father was the same way and shit. Like, we just cut you off. I'm not really confrontational with nobody. I just ain't wired like that. Like, I've been done wrong so many times, and the most that the person got out of me was like my absence. That's what you get out of me, my absence and shit. So a breaking point, Nah, man, just as I matured, I started to understand human behaviors and shit like that. This is something that needs to be said. When we be attracted to women, we don't be attracted to their aptitude and shit. We don't even be giving a fuck about that and shit. You know what I'm saying? We like big asses and hips and cute faces and shit like that. But a lot of us be dating and having children with bitches that's slow. I didn't understand that until I got grown and shit. Like, we've been fucking bitches that's slow. Like, a chick be looking good and shit, you know what I'm saying? Have a cute face, body and shit like that, but be slow. You didn't go to school with this bitch. You don't, we be fucking with bitches that been on medication and all kind of shit. So, you ain't gonna get no understanding out of this bitch. Never. I had to understand. I had to understand this, yo. So how can I compromise with somebody who's slow and shit like that? Like, niggas don't be wanting to say it, man. We got kids by some of these bitches. We got kids by her slow. Yeah, she was a bad motherfucker and shit. Like, we don't even know that they were slow until they get grown and they be working in them fast food joints and shit like that. Because their aptitude didn't, damn, this bitch didn't go to college. Like, they aptitude didn't take them nowhere else and shit. You know what I'm saying? Just as well as some guys peaked in high school. You know, you heard it. Damn, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie. There's some bitches that apply to too. You was the shit in high school. You know what I'm saying? And we don't be knowing that. We don't be knowing that. And we be putting babies in these motherfuckers, man. So what you come up with, you got a slow baby mom and a half slow child and shit, man. So you ain't gonna never get no understanding. And I ain't going to, the judge can't straighten this slow bitch out. The lawyer can't straighten this shit out. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, maybe the child will start dating and understanding the relationships and figure out what the fuck happened and they was duped and shit like that and come and try to get closer to God, man. But like I said, nobody was never in my life with my grade point average. I'm the one that went to prep school and shit. No bitch that I got a kid, but I went to no goddamn prep school. They don't know nothing about that. Like, they done got no accolades, nothing. They got a big ass and a cute face, and that's probably the extent of it and shit. For real. Joshua said, mine's all never had a father around. That too. That's rampant too. And like I said in my video, my father was in my life, and I never really thought about it, but till today, I was saying to myself, I wonder how my friends viewed me. You know what I'm saying? Because my father was there and shit. Like, none of my friends' father was around and shit. Like, I'm talking about never. I never seen him. Like, every now and then we'll be somewhere and a strange man will walk up to one of my homies and say something to him or some shit, and I'll be like, yo, who is that? He'd be like, that's my dad and shit. But they didn't, all of them knew my dad because he was always around and shit. Like, when they came around me, like, they knew who he was and shit, but I didn't know who their dads were. Had one homie named Reg whose father's name was Gino. He was around, but I asked myself, I was like, I wondered how the rest of my homies, friends viewed me. My mother and father was around, but I was raised by my father. He was always around. Like, when I was on a hoop court getting busy and shit like that, my pops is in the stand. My mom would be there sometimes too and shit. Like, you know, my mom would be there too. We wasn't like estranged or nothing like that, but my pops was there and shit. When I was scoring touchdowns and shit, that's my pops is there and shit. You know what I mean? Straight up. Your homies probably felt like your pops was theirs, the only man they been around. It could have been like that, but it didn't even strike me that it was odd until today I started thinking about it. I'm like, it wasn't common at all and shit. But the fact that my father was present, I believe that contributed to why I went further in life than a lot of my friends and shit. He just put greatness in me, man. Like, he put it in me, yo. And whatever he didn't put in me, I extracted the rest off of observation, just watching and just admiring this man, just admiring him, everything about him and shit. And I knew my mom couldn't top that. My mom ended up back with my father after her marriage. Let's call that an experiment or a stunt. That shit didn't work out. Ultimately, she ended up back with my father. You can't top greatness. Chicks would go marry another man knowing they're in love with another nigga and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, some chicks would get married to cover up the fact that they're in love with another motherfucker and can't get over him and shit. Like, that happens. Like, people, niggas have went to the altar with another nigga bitch. That ain't your bitch, fam. Like, she just walking to the altar with you. Yeah, y'all get married, but that is not your bitch. Like, her head and her heart is somewhere else. You don't know that, but I'm serious. Like, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. Seriously. I feel the same. My relationship wasn't the best, but he gave me all types of game. I remember I was dealing with this chick one time, right? Boom, we had a little falling out. We was staying together at the time and shit. And I packed up all my shit and I took it to my pop's crib, and I had some weights. I had a weight set. And he like, man, where is you putting all this shit, man? Like, what the fuck is you doing? You bringing all this shit in my house? And I'm like, I told him what happened with the chick, right? And he was like, she didn't try to stop you when you got to packing up your shit? I was like, no. He was like, man, that's over with, man. She ain't want you there. Yo, but that's the advantages of having your father in your life and shit. Like, he can give you the motherfucking game, he can tell you exactly what the fuck is going on. He can give you the footnotes and shit. Like, other niggas just spun out of control and shit, man, and went and clapped theyself, killed the broad. Like, you know, he was right there, man. This nigga got pimp all in his blood, man. He like, man, fuck that bitch, man. It's 8 million people in the world, man. 8 billion people. You'll find another bitch, man. Your next bitch probably gonna be better than her, man. You holding up the line and shit, man. Get rid of that bitch. Like, this how he talk to me. And boys be needing that understanding. Boys be needing that understanding and that coach. And he wasn't just a father, he was a coach. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you be needing. I remember he was laughing and he was laughing and everything when he was telling me, you know. So he said, my pops is the same way. But these little dudes that you see this online popping their ass and shit like that, they being robbed of that. They don't got the presence at all. You know why? They totally estranged to their father because their mother done told them a bunch of shit. They don't be telling them, yo, I was never your father's girlfriend. I was just a bitch he was fucking and shit. Like, kids be in the dark. They do. They be totally in the dark. They don't be telling them the truth. Like, they don't be telling them nothing and shit. So, he said Furious Styles shit. That's a great example. Furious Styles and Trey. That was a great example. Now, we have to look into the images that we saw. That was Craig's father that told him to fight Debo. His father told him that, man. You don't need no gun, man. Go out there and rumble that nigga. His father told him that. You got LeVar Ball. He got one son that's a rapper, getting money, doing his thing. He got two sons in the NBA. I almost had three. This is the outcome when the father is around to cultivate and nurture the seed and shit. James Evans from Good Times. He called JJ Jr., but he was right there. Look at Deion Sanders and his boys and shit. Women be disrupting greatness and shit. They be fucking it up. They be fucking it up bad and shit, man. And the king don't gotta, you know, like, kiss no ass and shit. I'm not, period. You know what I'm saying? Homeboy said, my dad, my grandfather was my everything. Exactly. Trey's dad was a wise man, very wise. And if you go back and look at Boys in the Hood today, Boys in the Hood came out in 91, I believe. It's a scene in that movie when they talking about gentrification. They talking about gentrification in that movie. People don't even remember that. They was standing there, and I think Grady from the Fred Sanford show. He walked up and they was out there and they was having a discussion and they was explaining, Fury Styles was explaining and or in a conversation talking about gentrification and way back then. He said when they went to Compton, yeah. He said, yeah, they was outside. Just a little bit, you know, just a little observation I made. I wanted to share that with y'all. It all comes full circle. When it's too late, they realize how they destroyed a child's life when you become successful. Exactly. He said it was in Who's the Man too. John Singleton put a jewel in Boys in the Hood. He did. He did. Lamar Jackson's mom raised him. Now they're millionaires. She did a good job. But I'm pretty sure that he had some type of mentor or something like that. Hey. I had my dad for the first 6 years, but it turned into 50 Cent when my stepdad came into the picture. I never even bought the concept of stepdad. I ain't calling no fucking body dad. I got one dad. That's how I was wired and shit. Like when my mom did what she did, I never embraced the nigga. I ain't fuck with him. I ain't talk to him. I didn't want to shake his hand. None of that shit, man. Like, it was like the ops was around and shit, man. I don't fuck with this nigga, period. Like, you could say that I was that loyal to my father, my biological father and shit. But I wasn't with that. I wasn't. Venus and Serena dad, Richard Williams. My mom know that we wasn't playing that stepdad shit. She waited until we was grown. Everybody ain't with it. I just know I wasn't. But if you haven't seen the video that I'm speaking of, it's the one that I put on. I uploaded it this morning and shit. I'm interested to see what y'all have to say about it. It was all real though. Sharif's dad, a menace to society. I forgot Sharif's dad made an appearance on Menace to Society. It was Rock, Charles Dutton. Great observation. Make sure y'all like this video and subscribe to the channel. My first couple of chapters in this book is about my father and shit. You know what I mean? He was that great. He made it into the book. None of this shit, the things that got me in the presence of people like Haitian Jack and these different dudes, Chaz Williams. It was the polish my father put on me and shit. Sean Harris says, stuff player. Yeah. A lot of these YouTubers need their fathers. A lot of these YouTubers need a job, man. When you look at these channels and shit, it's a lot of low vibrational shit. You don't get no food. You don't get no healing. You don't get no understanding. You don't get no wisdom. You don't. You don't. I ain't got no problem boasting about my channel and shit. I built this shit from nothing and shit. My shit is different, man. Cut from a different fabric. But the rest of these guys, not so much. He said, I remember when you said you cracked the cat upside his head with a pool stick riding for your pops. That was at a dice game. It's a true story. Yeah. Where can I buy your book? TheRealDribble.com. It's called Some Things I've Been Through and shit. This is my travels. I put the early part of my life, the incarceration. My homie Joker that I was telling y'all about on that video that I uploaded, the one that told me, yo, we gonna kill him and shit. He in the book. We came out of a juvenile home together. This is one of the wildest young niggas that I come up with. You know what I mean? I was out past the street lights. He know my mom didn't play that and shit. He like, yo, what you doing out here? Because all of their moms was getting high. Their families was getting high and shit. You know what I'm saying? I was one of them kids that disappeared when the street lights came on. I had to go in and shit. My man started to notice, man, you been hanging out a lot lately. What you doing out here? So I told him. He said, we gonna kill him when we see him. Yo, man, I just watched your jump out the window video. Yeah, I did, man. My little sister was crying and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, because I ain't want her to get in trouble. My little sister was in the kitchen doing dishes and shit. We in the second-story house. I lift up the window and shit. I'm like, yo, wait until you hear me hit the ground. And then go tell my mom, yo, Jamil jumped out the window. I didn't want them to think that she conspired with me and shit. She crying like, why you leaving? Like, I'm like, man, I'm getting the fuck up out of here, man. Like, I got to go. And I had the agility of a ninja, man. I jumped out the second-story window, man. Landed on 2 feet. Gone. He said it sound like the episode of The Wire. Is your father still around? Nah, he passed away, man. Nigga killed himself. Working in the motherfucking factories and shit. He inhaled something. He passed away at 59 years old. He died from some type of lung cancer or something like that. But it was definitely attributed to something that he inhaled working in them fucking foundries and shit like that. He said New Jersey Drive vibes. That scene in New Jersey Drive, that always fucked with me. I would have shot that nigga. Same with Jody. When dude, that movie, what was it, Baby Boy? I would have shot that nigga. I would have popped the fuck out that nigga, man. I was buck wild when I was a shorty, man. That nigga would have put me in a headlock. His ass should have been shot. Straight up, man. I'd have clapped that nigga to his knees, man. Yo, don't understand, man. Y'all just don't understand, man. Like, I had that Spice One shit all in me, man. I'm listening to Spice One every day and SIBO and shit, man. Start carrying hammers, man. A grown man was nothing but a gunshot victim waiting to happen, yo. I'm keeping it real. You wasn't whooping no ass, man. You wasn't putting your hands on nobody. Your ass gonna be shot, homeboy. For real. For real. Straight up. Y'all laughing. But that scene in New Jersey Drive, I'd have shot his ass right in the house. Like, I'd have popped her in front of her. I'd have popped him in front of her. Right there. Pick your husband up, your boyfriend, whatever that nigga is, get that nigga up out of here, man. He shouldn't be in here mouthing off, man. I got one daddy. You know what I'm saying? He said, no rap, all shells. Hell yeah, them hot balls have been jumping around in his motherfucking ass. For real. Straight. He said, rolling with my motherfucking strap on the side of me. Yeah, man, that Spice, I had that Spice One shit all in my veins, yo. I ain't got no pics yet, man. I'm riding with Don Staley and them, man. Straight up. He said, just like on Dead Presidents, when Unc disrespected Lorenz Tate in front of his girl. He said, you think you could have made it to the NBA if you played D1? Hell yeah. I wasn't accepting nothing but D1, man. I just got sidetracked in the streets. I wasn't accepting D2 or nothing like that. I never envisioned myself playing anywhere less than like Georgia Tech or Syracuse or some shit like that. Like nothing, it never even crossed my mind, man. Like I knew where I was going. I knew where I was going, yo. Like I was a dunking point guard, man. I fucked it up. He said New Jersey Drive, they don't make them like that anymore. I just told you, Georgia Tech, man, or Syracuse. I knew where I was going before I even got the scholarship, man. I knew where I was going. You couldn't tell me I wasn't going and shit. You know what I mean? He said, you got highlights? Ask Mr. Fab. Ask Mr. Fab from Oakland, can I play ball? Ask Ron Artest. Meta World Peace. He seen me get busy. I played in a celebrity basketball game in Oakland. Like, it's been like 18 months. Asking. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get the notifications. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Gully TV1. Rest in peace to young Scooter. Very, very unfortunate situation, but you know, when the father call you home, man, you got to go and shit. That's just what it is. He said great guards from there. Look at my video. I filmed a video in Georgia Tech. It's on this channel. You know what I'm saying? I told Arliss Michaels, I said, I feel like the prophecy is fulfilled. I ended up on the Georgia Tech basketball court anyway. It's on this channel. I'm in there shooting the fucking lights out like Dennis Scott. You know what I mean? I told Arliss after we filmed it, I said, you don't even know that this is where I was trying. I was trying to get on this court my whole life. And I ended up on that court as a media personality. Like, I was looking around at the banners, Kenny Anderson, Mark Price, Tom Hammonds, John Sally. I'm like, damn. I'm like, Kenny Anderson crossed Bobby Hurley up right there. Like, I walked over there. It was like, I just felt God's presence on me. I'm like, man, this is crazy that you arrived here and shit. You've been trying to get on this court your whole life and ended up on this motherfucking court. It's on this channel. Google Gully TV Georgia Tech. Google it. Bobby Cremens, yeah. Travis Best, Jared Jack, yeah. Gully, everything happens for a reason. Yeah. I tried to watch Kenny Anderson's documentary last night. It's called Mr. Chibbs. It wasn't really good and shit, but you know, I still got it in me and shit. He said, what happened to the kid that you interviewed to play for Georgia Tech? He ended up transferring from his name was Khalil Moore. He transferred from Georgia Tech and ended up going to Fordham, and he played pretty good at Fordham, and he ended up I think on the New York Knicks practice squad. He was in the Knicks organization some type of way, but he didn't make it to the NBA. I seen you in the Yellow Jackets warm-up. I had all that shit on when I was in there. He gave me the whole, you had the uniform to warm up on. I had to warm up on all of that shit. It was like the prophecy was fulfilled and shit. That's one of the highlights of my entire life and my career on Gully TV. Look that shit up, Gully TV, Georgia Tech. That shit was crazy. I ain't picked no Final Four winner yet, man. I said as far as the ladies, I'm going with Dawn Staley in South Carolina, man. They back in the Final Four. The guys, I ain't really. I gotta scrutinize a few more things and shit. I'll let y'all know. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, and I'll tell you and shit. He said, I think it's all #1 seeds. Jarrell Owens, I respect you. I've been following you for a while. Keep doing your thing as a black man. Thank you. You keep up the good work as well. Marbury. Anyway, I got to go, man. I did what I came here to do. I had to put footnotes on my video that I uploaded earlier. If y'all didn't see it, go watch that joint, man. It's very, very powerful. Very powerful. Some things in there need to be said. Stop suppressing black men's greatness when it comes to raising their children, their boys and shit. All right? Nobody can teach a boy how to be a man like another man. Straight like that. Peace.